now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
Well, folks, he has two Christmas gifts for you. The first gift wants to give you is gift of health and success. That's the most important thing. The second gift is he would like every politician to have term limits. My guest today, no stranger to anyone in northeastern Pennsylvania, Louis Booty Beltrami. Well, Booty, how are you?
I'm fine, Sam. How are you today,
I'm doing good. Family's okay?
Family's good. Everybody's good, thank God. Everybody's good.
Now, I mentioned about your Christmas gifts, okay? Two gifts. Well, certainly you wish everyone health and happiness. Before we get into the term limits, which I think is a very interesting subject matter, Louis, why did you've been very active in the last year, extremely active. Not that you haven't been active in your lifetime, but what brought you to the fact that you're very concerned about the term limits and concerned about the political arena that we have in the country today?
Well, Sam, the older you get, now I'm up in age, and for all these years I've been watching Republicans and the Democrats, Republicans and the Democrats, Republicans and the Democrats. I've been watching it. Now here I am, I'm 80 years old.
God bless you.
And I'm 80 years old, and I see what kind of a mess this country is really in. Look at our national debt. We're in over $17 trillion in debt. Look what goes on in government today. Just a perfect example. Look at when these politicians retire. Let's go to Senator Mello. His pension is over $400,000 a year. Now, $400,000 a year of pension for a state senator, that alone is enough to let the people out there know that they got to join with me and fight and holler and scream that we need term limits. We need them as soon as possible. That's one example of why we need term limits. We don't need career politicians. Believe me, we don't need career politicians. They want a career. Let them go out and be a doctor. Let them go out and be a lawyer. Let them go out and shine shoes. Let them do anything. But career politicians, we don't need them. Look what politicians do. Every day they meet, they pat each other on the back. You do this for me, I'll do this for you. And they do everything, pat each other just to they vote for how they can get the most votes. They don't care about you and I at home. They don't care when they make a regulation that's going to put 10 people out of work or 20 people. They don't care when they go in a factory and they make all these rules and regulations. They don't care when they go on a mining site and they see all these people around there telling other people what to do. We don't need that. All the politicians do, believe me as I tell you, they hurt the economy. They do nothing to help it. So it's time that we let these people get out of office. 5 years as a state senator, 5 years as the governor, 5 years as a state representative, get out and come back and live in the same community with me, with the same laws and regulations that you just put into effect.
Now, the other side of that would be this, okay, that there are people that really run for office that mean well. They do want to work for the people. When you get in office and you start getting, like any job, you become an apprentice, then you become, experienced. Do you feel that if you have a person who's been in office, now just getting to know what to do and how to get things for their respective areas, do you feel that would be a detriment?
Yes. Now, I'm a guy with percentages. Just look, I'll give you one example to answer your question fast. The United States Congress today has maybe less than a 10% approval. So who's doing a good job? Does that answer your question? That's why we still need term limits.
Okay, now the answer to that question, well, it answers my question, but let me just ask you this, and I don't have the answer, but this is an interesting thing that I heard on Fox the other day. Even though the Congress is down to below the worst numbers they ever had, as well as the president's numbers are the worst they've ever had, and any president from what I heard, when election time comes up, they go back to respective districts and they get reelected.
The reason for that is this is what my goal is. When most people I know, if they're a Democrat, they want to stay a Democrat. Most people, if they're Republican, they want to stay a Republican. Most people, if their grandfather was a Democrat, their father was a Democrat, and they themselves are Democrats, they'll just go pull the Democrat lever. That's just the way it is. Without realizing that by doing that, all you're doing is giving these people more power, more power, more power, more power. Now, the perfect example of that is, let's say I was a Democrat. Harry Reid comes up for election. Nancy Pelosi comes up for re-election. Now, look what they did with the health care. They said, pass it and we'll read it later. Now look what we're stuck with. These are the things that people don't realize that it affects them individually at home. If they really knew before they voted, they wouldn't be voting for the same party all the time. That's the reason why we have term limits will stop this.
Now let me ask you something, okay? You brought up a very interesting point, and we've discussed this many times. Okay, let's look at Harry Reid, and let's look at Pelosi, okay? They're Democrats. They go into respective districts, all right? What happened in Nevada, all the unions came out, had big time for Reid. They all came out for Pelosi because they want power, Louis. They want power, okay? Now, here again, they treat people like puppets. We're all puppets. You know, you hear in the Luzerne County, for example, you know, oh, well, there's a majority of Democrats, so we got to run a Democrat. Right? Vote Democrat, vote Democrat, vote Republican, vote Democrat. Not understanding who the person is. And here you have people who said, you know, we're going to read this bill after we pass it, all right? And look what's happening in the country today. We're just going down the tubes faster and faster. How do you respond to that?
That's why we need term limits. That's the purpose for this thing. We need term limits so that we eliminate the Nancy Pelosi's, we eliminate the Harry Reids. Listen, I'm a Republican. And if a Republican is doing the same bad things that they are, I want to get rid of them too. So the only way we get rid of them is to let these politicians know that you could go to Harrisburg, be the governor for 5 years, you could be a senator for 5 years, you could be a state representative for 5 years, you could be a United States senator for 5 years, a U.S. congressman for 5 years. But after that, that's it. Enough is enough. You're out of there. Come back and live in society with the same laws that you just created. When you keep these people in office more years and years and years and years, all they have is power. They power, power, power. The only ones they cater to are the lobbyists. The lobbyists are looking, get me this, I want this, I want this. You got to stop it. That's why we need term limits.
Now, okay, and it's easier said than done, okay? We've been stressing for years. Folks, don't go out and vote straight Democratic because you're a Democrat. Don't vote straight Republican. Know who the person is. Understand what the person can do for you. You're a businessman. You've been in many businesses. You have a current business, okay? Now, what do people tell you? Now, people say one thing, but then they do a different thing when it comes to election for some reason, okay? You get the cronies that call up, don't forget, we got to vote straight Democratic. Oh, you got to vote straight Republican. You know, it doesn't make sense to me. When do you think people are going to become educated to that, Lou?
People are educated to the fact right now that they don't want career politicians. They just don't know what to do. And the reason why, not because they're very educated. Your audience out there is very educated. You could go up any alley, any street in the city of Hazelton, there's a lot of smart people. They know what's going on. But the people themselves can't stop it. And that's why people get disgusted. And they get disgusted because they're sick and tired of voting for the same people all the time. So they won't go vote. They just go and they say, the heck with it. I'm not going to go vote. What good does it do me? That's the reason why we have to do it for the people that don't know how to do it. In other words, we have to have term limits that people know when they go to the polls, they're going to vote for Sammy Lesante for 5 years, and they're going to vote for Louis Beltrami for 5 years. And they got to get out of there. Then they'll go out and they'll vote.
You hear it all the time. When you had your meetings in the area here, there was you had big crowds, and people were frustrated. Okay, now last election, it was one of the lowest voter turnouts. All right, and they're frustrated. Are you saying people
they're disgusted?
They're disgusted
because they'll say, "I'm not going to go vote. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's the same thing." Now, let's give you an example. We have leaders that are in office today. Their only goal is, whether it's a township supervisor, whether it's the mayor, whether it's a state senator, whether it's a state representative, the only purpose they have in their lives is how to get reelected. I'm going to give you a perfect example. If you look, and all you people out there, when you're going through the city of Hazleton, Saturday, Sunday, I want you to look at the empty buses that are going around Hazleton. They're empty. They probably lose $2 million, $2.5 million a year, along with the Luzerne County Transportation Department. They lose as much money. The buses run around empty, empty, empty. Do you think there's a politician in office now? They know that they're losing all this money with this public transportation. Do you think anyone's going to stop that? Absolutely not, because they are afraid of losing one vote. Now, let me give you an example. 20 years ago, I said to Senator Musto, when he was still in office, these buses are running around, there's nobody in them, wasting all kind of money. Why don't you use those buses to take the kids to school? At least save the money for the taxpayers in every community, that they don't have to pay for bus service. At least use those buses to take the kids to school. He said, Louis, that's a great idea, but I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. Now, meaning that if he does something like that, he's going to lose votes. That's a purpose example of why we need term limits.
Staying in that same vein, okay, we see in the country today, well, let's stick with the state of Pennsylvania, okay? I personally feel that there are a lot of people out there trying to do their best. You have an election year coming up next year, which is going to be an interesting year for everybody. When you have, for example, and when we talk about this, when we talk about welfare, and we talk about the fraud, and we talk about everybody abusing it, people think that we don't want to help people. That's not the case. It's the abuse that is going on, okay? And people are frustrated with that.
It's not the abuse. Let me explain. You just said it. Listen, 44% of the people in the state of Pennsylvania, you people out there listen to this close, 44% of the budget in the state of Pennsylvania is for welfare. 44%. Now you think about it. Every time you go down my restaurant to eat, you pay a 6% sales tax. Every place you go, you want to buy a car, you pay a 6% sales tax. Most of that money that you pay taxes is going to these welfare recipients, these people that are on welfare receiving this benefits. Now, do you think the politicians will do anything to try to improve the system? No, they don't want to do that. Now, what I mean by improvement is this. Listen, we all fall on hard times, one way or another. People fall. They could be up here today, and they could be down there tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Now, what happens? That's fine, but we need these politicians to regulate this welfare by saying you're going to collect welfare for 1 year. 1 year. You're down and out, we're going to give you welfare for 1 year. But in the meantime, you're coming to work. You're going to come to work. You're going to come to the county jail, and you're going to wash walls all day long. You're going to come there from 8 o'clock in the morning, and you're not going to go home till 4:30 at night. And if you're sick that you can't be there, I want a doctor's excuse why you're not there. As long as you keep giving people free welfare checks every week, pardon the expression, you people out there, but we are making bums out of them. Why should they go to work? As long as Peter's giving money to Paul, Paul's never going to complain. So this is what I mean by term limits. They won't do anything to touch welfare because it's politically incorrect to get on a subject like that to try to correct it. That's another reason why you people out there, you're going to vote this year. Who's ever in office now, vote them out. Just go to the polls and vote. This is what we need.
Staying with the fact that that what you're saying about the people that are on welfare and who are using the access cards, When I say the abuse is the fact there are some people that have a couple of cards, and now I understand they're tracking them down. The Corbett administration has in the last 2 years tracked them down, okay, and has saved millions of dollars. There's a lot more, but what
Tracking them down, excuse me,
Yeah.
tracking them down for what? Tracking, what do you have to be tracking them down for? Put them on a limit of 1 year.
No, I'm getting to
Let
that.
them go to work.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
If they don't want to do that, that's it. But they're not going to make those decisions. They'll say, well, we're investigating this, we're investigating that. They spend more money investigating than the actual fraud. That's not the answer. The answer is that we need people that have enough intestinal fortitude in today's modern language, which means pure guts, to stop all this waste in government.
When you had your meetings, and there was a lot of people there, primarily people had concerns about their taxes, property taxes, school taxes, all these taxes that they're, and some, as we know, in northeastern Pennsylvania, the areas that we cover, Monterey City, Frackville, Tamaqua, Hazleton, you know, the Shenandoah, the different areas, we have a 50, 55 plus major audience. These people worked all their lives, as you know, Booty, and now they get hit with all these taxes, all right? Now, you blame that on the career politicians?
Yes. Here's an example of career politicians. You people out there, maybe you don't know it, but every time you go to a liquor store, you buy liquor or whatever, you're paying a tax on the Johnstown flood. Now, the Johnstown flood was, if you don't know, was in 1929. So they needed money to help these people, so they came up and they put a tax on liquor. Well, here it is, 2013, we're still paying that same tax. See, politicians don't want to get rid of taxes. They want to keep them and keep them. They want to add more and they want to add more. Because the more money you give a career politician, the more money you give a career politician, the more money he's going to spend. So the only reason why I'm on my bandwagon with this is when we had our town meetings, if there was 200 people to 300 people, which they were, the majority of them would come to me and say, Booty, the really answer is that we need to stop these politicians from being in office, making a career out of it. And that's my goal, is to keep preaching everywhere I could talk. I expect to have a town meeting coming in January, hoping all you people out there in the audience take the time to come down to listen to what we have to say. We have to get organized. We got to be unified. We have to go to Harrisburg with bus after bus after bus to let these people know that we're serious.
Booty, we face today when it comes to elections, you know, we have people running, and the first thing you hear from people when you're running against an opponent who's been in office for a long time is, well, you know, that guy has a lot of money and it's going to be very difficult to beat him. He could be he or she could have been a bum in office and did nothing, but however, they're well heeled, okay, and because they have a couple of $1 million, especially if you're running for a United States office or that's already, well, they're going to be able to buy the election because they have all the money. He could do nothing in Congress.
Well, term limits stop all that.
Yeah.
Term limits stops all the PACs, it stops all that. If you're going to be now Lou Barletta, when he ran for office, I voted for him. I went out and I beat the drum for Lou Barletta. Well, Lou Barletta said he was going to be in there for 5 to 6 terms, which is like 12 years. At the time when he said it, I agreed with him at that time. If Lou Barletta is running for office when his 12th year is up, I guarantee you I won't vote for him. Because to me, 12 years is enough. No matter what kind of a job he's doing. Because he himself said it. He himself says you should only be in there so long and come back and live in society with the same laws that we create. Term limits is the answer for everything. At least if a person's in there for 5 years, they're going to make a decision for all the people. All the people. That's going to benefit all the people, not themselves, that they want to get reelected. That's the only cure I have for this. There is no aspirin. There is no operation. It's a cure. The cure is that we need term limits to stop all this abuse.
looking at term limits, you're talking the whole gamut. You're talking township supervisors, managers of boroughs, mayors, you just name it, the president, you're talking across the board.
I'm talking everybody. Look at every city. Look at every city. Look at Detroit. They're in bankruptcy. Why are they in bankruptcy? Because of all the pensions. Right now, the city of Detroit, for their city employees and whoever that work for the city government, they are $3.5 billion in arrears for pensions. For instance, there's Hazelton. Look at what we have to pay the policemen. Look at what we pay the firemen for pensions. Now, I'm not saying that those people, these firemen, these teachers, they don't deserve it. But when they went to be a teacher or they went to be a fireman, the policeman, they did it because they had all these benefits. But now it's time it has to be stopped. For instance, this is why we need someone that has the intestinal fortitude, the guts to say, wait a minute, no more. You want to be a policeman in the city of Hazelton, you want to be a fireman, you want to be a school teacher, you're going to have to put so much money towards your retirement fund. You can't expect us, the citizens, to keep paying you forever because you're retired after 20 years. So we need to have these term limits that people will do that.
What do you say to people? Okay, and here again, I know the Rich family. I'm very close to John and Brian Rich. When Brian Rich ran for state senator, he was fighting that tooth and nail about the pensions, what he wanted to do, and how he wanted to do it, and he was on the right track. I'm nothing against Senator Argyle, okay? But I'm saying he was saying everything that you're saying, and he also said we should be in it for term limits. He said exactly what you said. Now he didn't lose by a lot, but he lost
because he had every union in the country against him. Every union, they band together. They put all this kind of money out there.
So when does that stop?
When does it stop? It stops when we, the people watching me, people watching you, and the people in their everyday lives, we have to join together. If we don't start if we don't have a new beginning, we never know what the end is.
Booty, look, I'm not saying I agree or disagree, but the point is, I know where you're coming from, and we've been, since 1994, that I started this show, I've been asking people to please look at the person, not at the party. And what disgusts me the most is when people say, well,
That's not the problem, Sam.
I know that.
That's not the problem. People don't go to vote because they're disgusted. And here's what they say, and I said it 5 minutes earlier. That they're disgusted because they say, what am I going to go vote for? It's the same old stuff all the time. This is why it's important that we, the people, have to stand up, stand together, and get this job done. And this way, we could put our country back to where it was before.
So you're saying, in conclusion, okay, you're saying, Louis Booty Beltrami, saying that the solution to most of the problems that we have in the country, townships, cities, and boroughs or whatever, is because we have people in office too many years and they become career politicians.
That's correct. Every city's broke. City of Hazelton, look at what they had to do, raise taxes 45% or whatever. Look at Scranton, look at Wilkes-Barre, look at everybody, they're broke. The reason for it is because of pensions. Now, I have nothing against you teachers out there, you firemen, you policemen. You went out there, you do a great job every day, but the time has stopped now for anybody that wants to be a policeman or a school teacher. They must now come, and you must have somebody in office that's saying, no, it's over, this is the way, this is your contract. They got to fight the unions tooth and nail to get the job done. It's not fair.
Now, do you think what you're saying truthfully now is realistic?
Yes, absolutely. If I didn't think it was real, I wouldn't be here preaching it. The only way I see in my lifetime and for my children and their kids to have a good life, to have it the American way, the way it was years ago, the only way it's going to be is we have to stop. We have to get rid of the power. You can't give people that much power. You give the Nancy Pelosi's, you give whoever is in office for 20 years, 25 years, you gave away your savings account. You just gave them your savings account because they'll find a way to take it off you.
Some people out there watching the show today may be totally agreeing with you, Booty, and they may say, well, look, Mr. Beltrami, you know, you seem to be making a point here. Why don't you run for office?
Sam, I'm 80 years old. I'm really seriously thinking about running for office if my health prevails in the near future, and I'm only going to do it for one reason. If I get reelected, I'm going to be the guy that's going to go out and scream and holler every day that this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, so that maybe other people across the country or across the state will say, hey, you know, this guy is right. This guy's right. We need to stop all this stuff. First of all, just you people out there, just look at the condition, the shape that we're in this country today. It's pathetic. They've taken our way, they're taking our lives away from us day by day. Now we're going to have government-controlled health care. They take it away. I know people that I know, my own son got his policy canceled. Why? Because he's a hard worker, he's productive, he wants to have the insurance that he wants. Well, he deserves it. Those 40,000 people that don't have health insurance, there's other ways that we could have done it. We're better off if the government would have said, everybody give me $10, we want to insure these other people. We would have been better off that way than have a government-controlled economy.
But see, now you're talking logic. See, you're talking logic.
Well, I'm talking logic even when I say term limits.
Yeah, I know, I'm not disputing, but the thing is that the country sees this, what's happening, but why is it that they still, why is it that the president, okay, who has a disaster on his hands, still has the liberal media protecting him, still has the Democrats who are in office protecting him. Some are starting to bail now because they're up for re-election. What do you say to that?
Because he believes in that. He believes in that. But the only ones that he believes in that's what he has, that's what he wants. I think the President Obama, I think his main goal is to have a universal government, and I think President Obama would like to be president of that universal government. His whole goal in life, first of all, his goal to me is to be a career politician. He wants to control the world. And you know that doesn't happen. And any of you people out there, just start reading your history. Look what happened in Germany. Look what happened in Russia. Look what happens in any communistic country, any socialistic country. It does not work. So don't let the United States of America turn into be a socialist country because we'll all fail and we'll be doomsday.
Booty Beltrami says, folks, that we should have term limits. You heard him. The show is seen 24/7, as you know, on SSPTV.com. Louis, I wish you the best. Now, it's January. You're having a major meeting, right? And you'll be announcing. We'll have it on our news, or we'll let people know where you're going to have this.
And local newspapers.
Okay, all over the place, okay? First of all, I wish you the best. It's always nice seeing you.
Thanks a lot, sir.
And you don't look 80 years old. You look like you're about 60, 61.
Well.
You're looking good. Folks, don't forget, if you want to watch the show or have any interest, my email is sam@ssptv.com, and you can always see Booty at his place, Booty's Place, at the Churchill Mall. He's there almost all the time, and he's always welcome to listen to you, what you have, your comments. Here again, it's ssptv.com. Thank you so much, folks, for making us your #1 local talk show in northeastern Pennsylvania. I say that not to be braggadocious, but I appreciate that very much, and all the nice comments that we're getting, as well as those constructive ones. I appreciate them too. We'll see you next time.